The
last topic today. Actually, I said good evening when Joris came and talked, but actually it's only day. And our last speaker is Andrejs Ērglis, and the topic is cardiovascular risk factors in children and adolescents. I feel like it's still day. Hello. It was very interesting to hear about that sport counseling center. Please invite our colleagues and me as well to participate. And I know many doctors who work with national teams as well. I don't agree that everything is in the head, but we could talk about this topic a lot. But what I had to prepare for today is about overweight and obesity influence on the child's heart health. Looking on this topic from the point of view of a doctor, I cannot tell something that you don't know already, but I may try. But once again, I will talk about why we should be motivated to think about our kids and their future. So this is the picture, which I didn't know, but why we need widescreen TVs. Because if the whole family wants to watch TV, actually it's not enough with the small TV. Of course, these pictures are mainly from the United States, but yeah, we are used to the fact that Americans are bigger than we are, but it depends on the region or social economical status. And of course, we don't have to follow this example. I think very highly of Latvia, and I'm very thankful for this conference, and this is fantastic. If we talk about diseases and causes of death and how it has changed, of course, people lived very physically active lives earlier, and we didn't have a lot of food to choose from. And if we look from that point of view, they died from very different reasons why people die today. And of course, the life expectancy was shorter back then as well. If we look at the situation right now, we can see that causes of death are as goes, that cardiovascular diseases are substitutes 57% of all the death reasons. And once my colleague asked, what else should we die from? But the good thing is that we don't have a lot of infectious diseases or plagues, or we don't have very many car crashes. But the thing is that cardiovascular diseases is the first thing why people die, and and there will be time when our heart stops beating. But how to live long, qualitative life, and why do we have to start with kids? So we need sport because it's a very important part of our lives. And that's why we have to look at this topic very seriously and also involve science. We cannot do sports just like that without any knowledge. But we need knowledge. We need knowledge for grassroots sports, for kids, and we will see now why everybody needs sports to improve and maintain life quality. So it's not very bad situation in Latvia, actually, and we actually researched the situation in Latvia as well, and we write down a lot of things and add cardiovascular diseases. But it's very important to understand that we need these scientific centers. And I'm glad to say that I can actually work at one innovative educational program, which actually will be a good investment for whole Latvia. And 5 years ago, I was invited to take part in this program, and it was connected with sports medicine. And I do sports myself, and I work with sportsmen daily, and I work with Professor Ērglis students. So we work with physiology a lot, and basically we can see and understand to we can help sportsmen to prepare better. So, what is our message? I have read many lectures, but I will repeat myself. I think I start repeating myself as I'm getting older. But where is the risk and where is the disease? So if you have a look at this artery, you can see that the beginning is when we are born. So in Bible it is also said that when the kid is born, arteriosclerosis starts developing, and actually we need to find a way how not to promote this disease. But actually, of course, there is genetics involved, and we cannot change that, and maybe we don't need to change that. But actually, while the baby is still in his mother's womb, we have to try not to hurt this baby. So, what are the factors that promote hypertension? So, here's the story about risks and the diseases. We call it disease, but it's actually also a risk. Diabetes is like a syndrome. Diabetes is like a disease, but it's also compilation of risks that end in a disease. So there are several risks like smoking. Earlier I didn't understand a lot about it, but now I know it's connected with cancer, and actually it hurts endothelial functions. So endothelial is like a substance. It's one of the biggest organs in the human's body, and it's on the inside of our arteries. And my grandma usually said that you cannot touch butterfly with your fingers because you will hurt its wings, and it's the same thing with arteries. If you imagine, I have seen those arteries a lot in my life, and I can see them from inside and outside, and then they are like dry pipes. Actually, if you open the tap, the water does not run because it's dry. So then there is aging. Then don't change your gender. Yeah, gender and heredity. We have several programs that work with heredity diseases, and we just have to identify these diseases to find them quickly as possible, and then we can try to improve the situation. And then about obesity and here we have a picture where actually I think it's better not to see it, because usually cardiologists usually say that our patients are aging. So these are pictures these are autopsy pictures starting at age 15, and what we can see here, it's from if it's from stomach aortas, from abdominal aorta, and you can see fatty streaks. And here you can see also raised lesions. So the first picture, what I just showed you, is that atherosclerosis develops when you are born, but you have to prevent it while you're living. So you have to take care of your kids' health, because sports and big deal. It's it's very important in determining how we're going to live the rest of our lives. So we do these kinds of IVUS studies, and you can see that this I won't tell a very I didn't tell my old joke yet. If you have a look at this picture, this is like eclair cake. It goes straight in your aorta. All the cream from your cakes, but imagine that it goes straight into your aorta, and then that cream goes into that aorta, and then you have a crispy layer, and then when it cracks, then there is insult and you have to prevent this from happening. So of course the first thing is with eating. You have to prevent that. And how this was discovered. So it was discovered relatively lately, but actually it was at the end of 80s when we started transplanting hearts. So they were transplanted from young people who died in bike crashes. And last Saturday we transplanted heart to a 11-year-old kid. So when people started researching this, nobody believed the facts, but you can see that they started researching aortas, and they saw that 18, 20, and 25-year people had atherosclerosis existence. So this is one of the arguments why we need to work together, and that we cannot lower the standards for this, because this is the thing that we can actually prevent by doing sports. We can prevent these atherosclerosis. So once again, so that it doesn't sound like I've come up with the facts, you can see that there are real researches, studies. There's the Bogolus heart study, where we can see atherosclerosis prevalence in autopsy and the number of risk factors. And the higher risk factors, the more risk factors, the bigger option of getting atherosclerosis. So all these diabetes, smoking, hypertension, heredity, these are the factors that the more you have them, the highest the possibility of being atherosclerosis patient. So actually, we need to prevent every single risk factor and fight for every single kid, for every single children, and the less risk factors they have, the less options of being patient of atherosclerosis. And here we can see that there is a correlation between body mass index, blood pressure, cholesterol, and triglycerides. So the higher body mass index, the more severe atherosclerosis a person has. The higher blood pressure, the more severe atherosclerosis person has, and it correlates also with cholesterol and triglycerides. These are the things that we should take into account. And if we talk about blood pressure, it's very important for everybody, for each person at any age. And actually, some people say that all people should have 120 to 80 blood pressure measurement, but there are a very small group of people for whom this blood pressure should be a bit higher. Otherwise, they wouldn't have enough blood for a brain. But actually, all the people, both kids and adults, they shouldn't have raised blood pressure. And it actually depends on our risk factors. So all the sports teachers at sports schools, and I'm happy that I have been involved in sports and sportsmen all my life, and now more with tennis and with all the kids there, those sports schools. We try to measure their blood pressure and their load test and echocardiogram, but actually we should do that more often. And actually we did that test here in Liepāja, and somebody was laughing that it was political step, but actually no. Ingrid Cirten, the former health minister, she's initiated that, and we had a look at American doctor associations, and they said that we need to check kids and their blood pressure starting from 3 years of age, no matter whether they do sports or no. Then at age of 11, 18, 21, and of course if you're a sportsman, then you must do it more often. So what means ideal heart health? So it means, this is like Americans usually try to do, they try to define very specifically. If we talk about smoking, if you're older than 20 years old, you shouldn't smoke at all, or smokers. We know that smokers can get back off healthy track. If you stop smoking in 5 years' time, you might get healthy again. But for kids, remember about the endothelia, what I told you earlier? If you want perfect health, it means that you have not tried smoking at all. How real that is, we don't know, but we have to do everything so that we can communicate that. Like I tell my family as well, there's nothing worse than smoking, and we should protect our kids and really try to do that. If we talk about body mass index, there is a special formula, which is percentile, less than 85th, and there is a special formula, and in all the phones you can do that. I have an old phone, so I cannot do that in my phone, but in those new smartphones, I can, but in all those new phones you can calculate all that. And it's very important to do that. Talking about physical activities, I think it's very liberal question. If you look at adults, it's at least 1.5 hours medium intensity practicing, or when we talk about kids, it's 1 hour at least every day, or at least 3 times a day, 3 times a week, have high intensity training. So every single day 1 hour, and 3 times a week specific training, high intensity. If we talk about diet, so for kids age 6 to 19, cholesterol should be lower than 4.4 millimole. For adults, we usually say 4.5, but it can be about 5.2. For kids, 4.4 millimole. And we have to follow this, and we have to check this. Maybe not every single year, but at the age of 3, and also check the sugar level in blood. And then at the age of 18, 21. And we have to look at glucose level. And it should be 5.5 millimole. This the Be Active poster is in front of this presentation a little bit, but if we have a look at this, try to imagine this. So these numbers are from Latvia. These are not from patients. These are from normal inhabitants, and we haven't now someone we will make new research for this decade, but have a look. Women up to 25 years, they have just 1 less risk factor than men. That's why they live longer. Maybe men are not so mentally strong and then they collect more risk factors. And then you can see that at the age of 55, the level of risk factors are on equal level, and then some men are still alive afterwards, and then they meet the women who are still alive. But I think it's too late to meet women. But those are very serious facts. Actually, those are numbers from Latvia. A lot of people use data from other countries, from World Health Organization. They put all Europe numbers in one basket, and actually we cannot look at those numbers. We need our own data to be able to see the situation, and this is what we can be proud of, that we have this data. And if we have a look at these risk factors, Latvia is not a very bad country, and the situation is very good actually, but we need to improve, and this is the way to do that. But actually we have a lot of things to do, and eating habits are here as well. Smoking and eating habits mainly determine why we have the high cholesterol levels and why we don't have such good cardiovascular situation. And here you can see the statistics from a while ago, where you can see how many kids have normal weight, overweight, obesity, and actually it's from 2008. So we need to renew this data, and it would be better if we could monitor the situation the whole time. So it's quite difficult to imagine what has happened through 1997 to 2006, but actually it's a very important situation. We can see that more than 12% of kids had obesity. I didn't think that it's such a big issue here in Latvia, but actually we need to do more to prevent this. We definitely need to monitor this situation. Here, if you have a look, you need, of course, we need to know the methodology and compare this to 2012. But it looks like there are more kids, 7-year-old kids with overweight and obesity, and these are things that we need to think and need to talk about. Need to talk about the importance of sports and eating habits, both at school and at home. So here we can see the statistics from the United States. Like every 2 years, every other year, they analyze data for those 2 years, so they do it regularly. If you have a look at here, Latvia is in better situation. And in Latvia it was 24%, and in the States it's 32 and 31% for obesity. It's not that bad here in Latvia. Don't think it's not a horrific news, like don't put that in mass media, something horrific has happened. But we are just talking about things that we must do in future. So what is clear, and it's again from this bogus research, is that if in childhood you have obesity, it's starting from year 73 until 94, and then kids were examined again in adulthood. So if children with overweight in adulthood have overweight as well in most cases. So what I wanted to say is that we know that, but data proves that what we do in childhood will impact our adulthood as well. And of course, we need to talk also about senior sport, and I'm glad that it's happening. So here you can see data of Liepāja, but we have seen that the data is similar to the overall situation, which is 25% of 11-year-old have overweight or obesity. So this might not be related only to kids, but it's bad if we have elevated LDL cholesterol. And actually, in most cases, the cholesterol levels were elevated. But it's good that we have fixed that we see that, and that we know that we have to do to prevent that. Actually, there are no proof that any kid should be given any medicine to lower cholesterol, the same medicine that we would give to adults. But what we need to do immediately is to change the lifestyle of kids and to adjust physical activities and food. But if we have a look at increased glucose, those are 17%, and that's very bad. The next thing is that, as I told you already, it's not a miracle what happens to insulin. Insulin is very necessary for us, and it gives us energy, and it's necessary for metabolism. But the more fat cells we have, the insulin cannot get through the cell membrane, and then we have a huge huge problems, and we develop type 2 diabetes. This is the difference between non-insulin dependent diabetes and insulin dependent diabetes. I'm talking about all these statistics all the time, but at the I think this is interesting statistics to see these data that is necessary for this theme. So these are not just facts that I have made up, but this has been documented, and these are the results of researches, and it's a very good theoretical material for the next steps that we're going to take. And if you have a look at what's going on with blood pressure in children, so as soon as you have high body mass index, you can see that proportionally blood pressure rises. It's not metaphysics about blood pressure. It's mechanics. It's mechanics that work as the same in rivers. Like the faster the river, there are two arteries everywhere, and the faster the blood pressure, the bigger the load on the blood vessels. So there's something similar to erosion, and that's why blood vessels get damaged. So in most cases, when the blood pressure is body mass index is high, blood pressure will be high. Also, we have elevated triglycerides and faster metabolism. So this study proves again that if you have high body mass index in childhood, you might have high body mass index also in adulthood. So this is, if we talk about the facts, how we can live until 120 years qualitatively, we need to start being healthy very early. What should we do? What are the health promotion activities? So, of course, it's prevention, diagnostics, treatment, and it's what we're doing now. We're popularizing healthy lifestyle and sports culture promotion. Of course, we need to teach healthy lifestyle to kids very early, and we need very good programs for this. I don't know whether it has changed lately, but when I was practicing when I was young, of course it was many years ago, and I don't think that those were the best political times. But talking about sports health, we needed to check our health very regularly. It has to be centralized, that you have databases, and no kid should proceed with doing sports without doing all the checkups. At the beginning, this might seem very silly, but this is very simple structure for thinking. I really like this picture. So what causes overweight in kids? So it's food, and we have to think about very, very much lately. So you cannot ask kids to understand everything about food. He can follow the rules and the activities that family does. What are you feeding? And that's the only food that he gets. And it's a sedentary lifestyle, which is low physical activity. And children see what parents do, and then they follow their example. So you have to have knowledge about food. What do parents eat? You have to encourage, and you have to monitor how many hours per day kids watch TV. So they're watching TV all the time, or watching at the computer screen. And of course also looking at the bigger picture. It depends on the nationality. In Middle East, diabetes in women is 80 to 90%. And they have different beauty ethelons as well. The women are bigger, but that's true. And from socio-economical status, we have the government and school canteens and physical activity programs at schools are very important factors here as well. And Peter Sappins already talked about orienteering, and he has done. He has had big impact on improving school lives. I actually don't know how much I have talked. Very good public. No one is leaving, and I'm just going on. I have about 10 minutes. So I don't know how interesting it is, but we have talked a lot about fatty acids. What is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what really is necessary and what is not necessary. So we don't need trans fatty acids, and they are made of modified fats. So basically it usually happens in industrial hydrogenation, but also in baking at home. And all the grandmothers also knew that you cannot over bake, over fry things, because then those fatty acids become bad for your body. Actually, we have small cells in us that eat all the bad things that gets into our blood, and if our body does not recognize trans fatty acids, we cannot get rid of them as well, because they stay in our bodies. But there is not option to get non-trans fatty acids, because they are biologically made up in our bodies as well. Don't get mad, don't go nuts about those trans fatty acids. But of course we need to talk about them, because we don't need them. What we need is unsaturated fatty acids, mainly in vegetable oils, and polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are called PUFA, both vegetable oils and fish. That's the reason why we should eat fish at least 2 to 4 times a week. That would be ideal plan. But if we look at the situation in Latvia, we eat very little fish. That's not right. And actually, that salmon that we eat here in Latvia, it's actually very good. It has very good fish oil. If someone says, and it actually is true, what? It's like paradox. So we live next by the sea, but we don't eat enough fish. That's weird. We have heard that people say that fish are poisonous, and actually they live, those are the fish that live in oceans because they live very long lives and they accumulate a lot of bad poisonous substances in them. So we can eat our fish. Actually, saturated fatty acids, animal fats and dairy products, buttermilk, palm oil. We should forget palm oil, and also in cosmetics it should be forbidden. It should be forbidden also in food and in cosmetics. It melts in 39 or 40 degrees, so if you eat something with palm oil, it's all over your stomach, and nothing else can penetrate your cells. So nothing good can penetrate your cells. A lot of people ask about rapeseed oil. If you look at Italians, it's one of the it's not very good oil for food industry. The rest of the oils, we promote olive oil, and there are many other oils, but some oils are very difficult to keep good, to keep usable, to keep good. Talking about animal fat, we need some animal fats. We need cholesterol as well for the functioning of cells. But how much? A lot of you have heard Professor Benelans that Raymond's Pauls called me and said I ate like fatty bacon because the professor said that it's okay. But if you don't eat a lot of it, it's okay, because we need some saturated fatty acids to make calcium enter our cells. But the story is about the proportions of what we eat and how much we eat. Of course, if we look at sportsmen, and I'm very happy that what's going on with the sports science, because I always check up with what's going on in sports science. But eating is one of the things that is very important for good results in sports. It's not always everything is mental, about your thinking and so on, but it's not always like that. There are many things that you have to go through, and you have to have bases, good bases for that. Listen what Jürgenson says about NHL camps. You cannot change your weight in a day's time. You cannot change your weight for 1 kilo, because everything changes if you change your weight. For example, I have some lectures. I have been and spoken into many lectures, and they ask about how many carbohydrates and fats sportsmen should eat. The more you do sports, the more you need energy, the more energy you need to eat. We need protein, but if we eat protein with big molecules, we have too big pressure on kidney, and then kidney has problems. So this is what is necessary individually, and also when making diets for sportsmen for different periods. You have to work out a proper diet. So there's a big difference if you are in amateur sports or if you're in professional sports. So it also relates to fatty acids. So buttermilk in small doses, it's necessary. And here we can see coronary heart disease risk and trans fatty acids, their correlation. And that's very huge. So the more trans fatty acids you have, the higher risk of coronary heart disease. But there are two interesting things about evolution. Life is not so simple, because smoking and tobacco, if you look at the beginning of 20th century, tobacco was in at pharmacists. You could buy it at pharmacists as a drug, as a medicament. And the beginning of the 20th century, everything promoted tobacco, that it's good. And trans fatty acids actually maybe saved many people from dying from hunger. And actually, people thought that it's one of the best inventions of the century, because that was the way how to ship food for long distances. So, so effects of polyunsaturated fatty acids. So they have impact on heart rate. So of course we would need to spend more time on this, but actually it has effects on right and left auricle of the heart and right and left ventricle of the heart. Those are small details, but they have big effects. And then we see other results. For example, of course, I know all the basketball national players. I know how their results of all the blood tests and so on. Maybe they have better results now, but the previous teams didn't have so good results. But if you have problems with heart, or if you play any other sports, of course we now have basketball championship, but maybe you play tennis, and some players have very high blood heart rate beats. So that's the way how we can see how well trained and professional players are. For example, look at the tennis players. Some of them can do a lot of things without sweating, and at a heartbeat which is effective, but actually it's also related to polyunsaturated fatty acids and effects. So the same also with liver, and whether it works properly, because it depends whether the energy will be efficient, whether you will have enough energy. So you need to you need the sports scientists and science, because there are a lot of things that lead to other things. So one of the best cell labs we have here in Latvia, we use them after strokes and things like that, but we have also very good doctors that work with reflexotherapy and work with tennis players, and he plays tennis as well. He is 96 or 97 years old, but we actually work together with dermatologists how to regenerate cells. So there are a lot of recommendations, and I and I can leave them for you. So here you can see recommendations for diet, that the primary drink should be non-fat milk without additional flavors. Actually, all of us know that. And here's the stats about fats, saturated fats, that we have to avoid trans fatty acids, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids. We need 20%, and that we need a lot of fiber in our daily food. This is everything what I already told you, but it's good that I can read this information, then I understand. Then that you need to teach about portions, encourage increased energy intake during periods of rapid growth or to regular physical activities. I would like to know how many of us change the food we give to our children when the children grows. How we change the menu when they start growing. How many of you do that? But these are the things that we need to think about, and it's not very simple, and that's why we would really need sport science centers. And that would be my dream as well, that we would have something like that, and where people, scientists, could say what each of us need to do to get more professional sportists, and so that they win medals. And the next thing, if you look at what the people should eat, you can see that the least amount of food should be cakes, and then we need more fish, and the basis would be fruit and vegetables and things like that. So one more thing about Mediterranean diet and health: it's proven that it lowers the death ratios, and it lowers the Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease risk. And there were more proofs of Mediterranean diet efficiency also lately. And what we can see is that Sweden is the best at following Mediterranean diet principles. The worst is Cyprus. And it's actually strange. Actually, I eat also similar to Mediterranean diet. And I asked them, well, why did you put me there? Do you have C? Yes, I said, yes, we have. I don't want to talk about this that much, but actually also in all kinds of science, with all kinds of science proof, we can see that the impact of physical activity is very positive. Also psychosocial well-being. I don't think that we will manage to cover all of this today, but you can see, I like these tables a lot, that for 1 to 4 year olds, encourage active games, restrict seated screen time, do not place TV in the bedroom, as if simple things, but actually I have a grandson, and I'm interested in these things as well. And you can see that each group of age have different needs for physical activity. So you need to increase the physical activity with each age group. And this is what I already told, that you need to have physical activity for kids starting from 5 till 17, at least 1 hour per day, and 3 extra trainings of high intensity per week, starting already from 5 years old. It's very simple. You just have to do that. Yes. I think that's enough. Thank you for your attention. Andrei, with all these numbers and tables, do you eat cakes? I try to hide my stomach, my tummy. But yes, sometimes I eat cakes. I understand very well that it's difficult. It's work. Of course, it's very difficult work, and nobody denies that. And the worst thing is that what I do is that I eat a lot of food in the evenings or at night. And that's the thing that we should avoid. One more thing a bit later, not only sport, just sport cannot lower your weight. Alcohol is it might be 1 or 2 glasses of wine, not vodka. It's not that bad as smoking. And then one sports teacher asked us to ask you 2 questions. So now I will try to ask them. Let's begin with, and it's not a problem in Saldus, but in small schools, so that you could take your kids to some tournaments. You need doctor checkups, that you need documents from GP that the kid is fine to take part in a tournament. What couldn't you do in small schools where there are no GPs? Now I have to be politically correct. It's two-sided answer. I have a separate lecture on these risks, because we definitely need to check our kids. We see what kind of bad injuries and things happen with our kids. What I think is that it's pity that we cannot provide high quality in those small schools. We maybe need to cooperate in some ways and take them to schools with higher quality, but we cannot. Municipalities and councils should work with this issue, that there's lack of GPs who can check these kids. I think that all the things that we have in any sports schools should be provided in any school. There should be some kind of solution. I will tell why. Because if you, my heart is in this issue. We would really love to check all the kids. You need to make an echocardiogram. Sometimes it's enough to listen to the heart rate, heartbeats. I can tell that we can put many sportsmen back in sports, those who have been told that they won't be able to do sports again, but actually in a while they can do sports again. But we should check all the kids also with load tests and echocardiogram and blood tests. But I can imagine that's not always possible. The second question is that a kid comes to a lesson and he has a document from GP, and that there's written like second group, which means that the kid needs less load than less physical activity than others. And what to do, because sometimes kids don't come to these lessons at all. I don't know how this has ended, But last spring, in Ministry of Health, we have like strategical council, and we were discussing this topic. And actually, that's a question of control. I'm against this kind of act if it's not based on real solid data that this kid cannot do physical activities. I'm very skeptical. You need very good basis for not allowing kid to do sports. It's good for kids to do sports. So those are these are two-sided questions. From one point of view, the GP is afraid of giving a document that the kid can do sports. What if something happens? But on the other hand, it's bad to give such a document if kid actually can do sports. You saw on the screen that kids starting from age of 4, they need physical activities at least 1 hour per day, plus 3 high-intensity trainings per week. But there are some more things that you need to be careful of. I'm not such a big professional, but some of my friends are very good coaches, very professional coaches, and ask Andrejs Ērglis what he thinks about Switzerland's hockey system. And for example, we have tennis school, and there are a lot of kids there, and the other end of the stick is that parents want results so badly that they actually put too much stress, too much pressure on the kids. And have a look what happens to adolescents. Ask them how many of basketball players have been ruined over these years. You cannot do that. You have to have a look at your wrist joints, and ask them to do too much physical activity. And you cannot do all the things when you're 14, for example. So why would I like to see echocardiograms? Because then we can see how the heart works, the thickness of the heart, and then we can monitor heartbeat rate and everything. I didn't touch upon all the sportsman food and all kinds of cocktails, what they drink, and so on. But talking about schools, we just need to make sure that all the kids are checked. I would say that you would really need very good basis for not allowing some children to attend sports lessons. Actually, in some situations, children need more sports. For example, every recommendation after every heart operation is, of course, in 2 to 4 weeks' time, a kid can start sports after heart operation. After heart operation, you must do sports. And there are many stories that we don't need to collect all glasses of wine and drink them in one day. But of course, life may be different. But If you haven't been in sports for a long time, don't begin with very high intensity trainings. But talking about kids, you have to have very serious basis for not allowing children to attend sports lessons. It's not wrong, but you recommended a very good thing for me. I think we could organize event for GPs to talk about the reasons why not to give those documents that allow children not to participate in sports lessons. Let's not say that all GPs are the same. I understand coaches and physical education teachers. Of course, I understand that very well. But I think that you need to talk to parents, because they should be willing to see their kid healthy. But all the kids must be checked. Thank you. Are there any more questions? Thank you, Andrejs Ērglis, Doctor of Medicine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting. Thank you for the interesting lecture. So I calculated, so we have 17.5 hours until tomorrow's conference. So let's be good this time. Let's eat some fish, sleep well, and make a summary of today's information. Applause, and see you tomorrow.